I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Aly Madhavji, Managing Partner of Blockchain Founders Fund. It's great to have you on the show, Aly, and it's great to see you again.
Thanks so much for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to hear a little bit today about Blockchain Founders Fund. If you could kick it off by giving us an overview of the company and what your guys' portfolio looks like, that'd be great to hear.
Sure. We're a token and equity-based investment fund. We're funded by private capital, and we have three parts of our business. We've got the investment fund, and then we've got an accelerator where we help companies not only on their blockchain-specific components, but actually helping them across things like go-to-market strategy, governance, actually how to basically scale a company from 0 to 1. Okay. And then the final part is our consulting arm, where we're working with certain governments as well and intergovernmental organizations. So, for example, we're writing one of the flagship reports for the United Nations for this year, for 2019, on fintech and blockchain. And so that's also a pretty exciting initiative that we're working on.
That sounds great, Aly. Awesome. So could you break down a little bit further in the rationale behind your guys' choice of the portfolio? There's equity, there's security tokens, there's ICOs from last year. What are the reasons that you made the portfolio the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Of course, this industry is changing very quickly. And so, we were lucky that we had started doing equity probably earlier in this industry than many people, and we had that kind of hybrid structure now for a while with equity and utility tokens. We've done a lot of utility token investments, in 2017 as well. And 2018 it has slowed down considerably. Given the state of most utility tokens, we're not actually focused on those anymore, but more so into equity-based investments and then STOs if they make sense. Generally, we do like equity-linked STOs. Could consider things like if there's additional properties related to dividends or other things, but very skeptical still on things like revenue shared security tokens, especially if it's not a very large, cash generating mature business.
Yeah, the security token offerings are really premature. From what I've seen, we really have to see some successful deals and how that works out. It's almost like when ICOs first started. People don't really know, even the platform to issue security tokens, there's not really something that's mainstream yet. So I'm sure that will be fleshed out in 2019, especially 2020, as more institutional investors come into the field as well.
Exactly. I mean, the approach that we have on that, so I am an advisor on Polymath, which is one of the more well-known companies in the STO space. We are interested to kind of see how this transitions. We're very bullish on STOs as a whole, but we also do see the downsides of it and some similarities at times to utility tokens. For example, we had a company pitch us recently that when we actually crunched the numbers on the math on what you were actually receiving, we basically came to the conclusion that it was a startup with a couple $100K of revenue looking for a $14 billion valuation. So you do get, some weird things. Having said that, it was a very accomplished team, that might fit the bill on some of those things. So you do still have, kind of exorbitant valuations, even with STOs.
Definitely. And that's a big mistake, even for those people that are going into Shark Tank looking for, investment. They always seem like the valuation is ridiculous, and where you really have to have the rationale behind that. So in terms of the investment opportunities that you guys are currently looking at, what spectrum of industries are you currently invested into, or are you looking for more investments in?
Yeah, so our fund is industry agnostic and geography agnostic, and so we do have investments all around the world. We are very interested in highly scalable companies, and so if we're talking about things related that are digital, that you can actually, as you scale it, your costs aren't increasing at the same pace as your revenue growth. That to us is really interesting. We do have, investments as well personally outside of blockchain that are, cover, things related to cannabis or
Mm-hmm.
things related to, AI, machine learning, etc. But even within the blockchain sphere, it still touches every industry. I would say, some of the more interesting things that we're looking at right now would be things related to enterprise. We think that is a very high growth sector. I mean, we're seeing more and more businesses interested in directly, using blockchain. Pretty much most major boards of companies have, had these discussions now on, what we can do with blockchain. And so that's one area. I mean, we are also interested in certain other ones. I mean, like gambling tends to be a really good use case still for blockchain. I mean, supply chain is very, very, very strong use case. And we're seeing and have invested in half a dozen companies on that front.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, those are a few, but we're always interested also in new things that can revolutionize or change their industries.
That's great that you guys are so agnostic, because you never know, the location or the industry where the next unicorn might be, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you guys have an accelerator and consulting services as well as your fund. So with many of the companies that you invest in, are most of them being accelerated as well? And how much capital are you guys pushing to help them grow?
Yeah, so not all of the companies that we invest in go into our accelerator. I mean, there are plenty of investments that we make that the company is not, say, extremely early stage. If they're not seed level and they're kind of a little bit past that, then they're probably not something that we would necessarily put into our accelerator. Having said that, our ticket sizes are generally in the six-figure range, so kind of anywhere through that range, and we are also open to following on investments. If we do, for example, the seed round, we're interested to look at it for a Series A. So there's that aspect as well.
Definitely, that's great. Good to know. And throughout 2018, we both did a lot of public speaking. I spoke alongside you in Vietnam as well as Manila, and we also spoke in our hometown of Vancouver. And I know that you're continuing the events and the networking throughout Asia in 2019. Could you give a little scope to people that are in North America on, what is the status of blockchain startups and investments in Asia right now? Because I know North American people have sort of been in a little lull.
Yeah, I mean, in Asia, and so I mean, I have been doing quite a bit of speaking, and it was also great to see you in 3 different cities over the course of a few months, all around the world. And I mean, the scope of investment in Asia, it has slowed down, of course. I mean, a lot of it is also correlated to cryptocurrency prices, given that a lot of funds in Asia were actually token funds and only invest in utility tokens. And so they've been burned pretty hard. Of course, I mean, when you've got a lot of these utility tokens have gone down, 90, 95, 99%, that is tough. So it is slow, I would say, but having said that, there's also a number of funds that were doing equity and that were, also traditional funds that have moved into the space and things like that. And so the stronger funds are still deploying capital, and we're still seeing it with certain STOs. We're still seeing, equity deals being done as they're always being done. And so there's still definitely the ability to fundraise in Asia. There's, of course, if the business has applicability to Asia, you will find investors that have an affinity to it, and so things are still going. I mean, as an example, yesterday I was speaking at the WBF, so the World Blockchain Forum conference in Shenzhen in China, and there was a massive group, at least 500 plus people, many investors there, many interesting projects as well that we came across. And so very lively atmosphere as well.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And, I hope that the crypto markets, go sideways and then up. And that will only increase the mainstream adoption as we did near the end of 2017. We really kicked it in. A lot more people started getting into the industry, a lot more startups, some bad ideas, but at the same time, some really good ideas as well, right? And those have grown in the last 2 years. Despite the bear markets, those companies are actually doing really well.
Absolutely. I mean, we see it as well. We think there has been, some really good companies. I mean, there's also plenty of really good blockchain companies that we've seen that don't necessarily have a token, and that's also okay, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's part of
for
still
sure.
growing the industry, and
Definitely.
growing the use cases and real applicability. We're also actually seeing, for example, in China, some really big things happening
Hmm.
from major companies. So, for example, there's a really large partnership between IBM, Tsinghua University, and Walmart on food safety related to blockchain, and this is a pretty big deal. And so you're starting to get a lot more visibility as well in the public. And so we do anticipate that, with the right things happening, which we think they are, like real blockchain adoption, real
Hmm.
major companies adopting and pushing the benefits of blockchain, that will also have an effect, on cryptocurrency markets as well at some point.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and that's actually really great insight from China there. So I'm expecting big things out of Asia this year as well. So speaking of this year, what do you think would be one of the biggest challenges for Blockchain Founders Fund growing and achieving your goals by the end of 2019?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I mean, so our focus is still looking for, great deals, great companies. We do like early stage companies, and so, I mean, if there are viewers or people that know of great companies, I mean, please feel free to reach out to us. Um, as well, we're looking to continue to build out, and shape what we find as game changing things in this space. So, I mean, if there are things that we can get involved with and help them grow, that potentially can help change the world, we're interested in that. And our philosophy as well. I mean, because this industry has done a lot of good for us, and so part of this as well is, how can we continue to give back? And so one of the things that we're doing is the report with the United Nations, which we see just a lot of value for the world. I mean, if we talk about, and it's a very complex report, but if we talk about underbanked and unbanked populations, we talk about migrant populations and refugees, and we're talking about, small and medium enterprise and how we can help each of these groups become much more effective with financial inclusion or remittances and other factors. I mean, we're talking about the ability to help millions of people with, the power of both blockchain and cryptocurrency. And so there's some very interesting aspects here that, we're hoping to help drive more government adoption, that can really have an impact and change, these regions and change the lives of many, many people.
That's awesome, Ali. I'm glad that you guys are in line with those, initiatives. And I've found that a lot of the blockchain, people that have been around in the industry for a few years, they're all about giving back to the community, and things like the Pineapple Fund, which give millions and millions in cryptocurrency from the gains that they happen to make to actually make the society a better place. So I'm glad that you guys are, in line with that philosophy. So you mentioned you guys are looking for more projects. You may be looking for other people to get in contact with you. What is the best way to get in contact with you and the Blockchain Founders Fund?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. And so we actually have a couple of interesting things that we do in here. So one, I mean, if it is an interesting project, you can tweet at us. You can reach out to us by email if you have our email. If you don't, you have to find a way to get to us. And so you can check us out at events. You can talk to people that know us. I mean, we have a very strong reputation across North America and Asia, as well as in the Middle East and growing in Europe. And so, I mean, that is also one of the filters is, find a way to get to us, and find a way to get to our attention, because we do also use this as a way to filter out a lot of scam projects, which are very apparent in this industry, and just low quality projects that, if they can't network into us, I mean, it'll be very difficult, I'm sure, to network in their industry and build what they need to do to make their business successful.
That's awesome. I like that ideology. Well, thank you for your time today. It's all the time we have this time, but I'm looking forward to seeing you again and hopefully speaking on stage and watching Blockchain Founders Fund throughout 2019. Let's follow up in the coming months to see what's happening with the fund and if you guys have grown. And I'm looking forward to then.
Absolutely. Can't wait, and chat soon. Thanks so much again for having us.
Thank you.